The consortium that is buying a major stake in Liverpool Football Club has sent all Liverpool fans a bit mad this week, hasn't it? You've seen on Twitter all the AI generated nonsense and some weird designs of football stadiums. First and foremost, you've just got to think Anfield is one of the most iconic stadiums in the world, so why change it too much? There's one design that looked resembling Ibrox. Why would you want Anfield to look like Ibrox, and why would you want some new futuristic generated nonsense? I'm going to put some of those misconceptions to bed. I'm going to tell you exactly why an Anfield redevelopment is impossible, but I'm also going to tell you why it is actually quite conceivable. Yeah, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, does it? But I'm hoping that the rest of the show does. So what's in it for Jeff Bezos, Amir Bhatia and Edwin Savarin to increase this stadium? What is the point? And the point is revenue, and the revenue then can make Liverpool grow into one of the biggest football clubs in the world. And if you think back to 2016 when Liverpool opened the new main stand and FSG took a £120 million loan into an investment into that new stand, what they did is essentially there is have extra seats, and as Liverpool fans and as an average Liverpool fan myself, we always look at the capacity, but it's not the capacity or the general admission seats that made a hell of a difference. It was actually the hospitality sector inside the main stand that has made a huge difference in that. If you remember the 2016-17 season, Liverpool hadn't qualified for Europe the previous season. I was in Switzerland devastated. But the numbers now are key to that because there was no European football, but the commercial revenue from that first season, just with those additional seats, but mainly the hospitality seats, rose by £12 million. And then there was the Anfield redevelopment, which cost an additional £80 million for FSG in what was essentially only 7,000 seats. And what they maintained, the argument was, it wasn't just about those numbers. 25% of those, I think around about 1,800 seats went to hospitality. But that is where it gets really interesting now when we talk about revenue, because matchday revenue went from 80 million to 102 million in the 22-23 season, and in the 23-24 season it then rose sharply again to 116 million. Now, all of those numbers are not strictly due to just because of the Anfield Road expansion, so I'm not going to pretend that that is exact numbers. It certainly isn't, because Liverpool did play in the Champions League in 22-23 season. In the 23-24 season, they wasn't in the Champions League. However, they were in the Europa League. It was Jurgen Klopp's last season when we finished on 82 points and we were knocked out by Atlanta. So but the numbers are there. So why would they do it? There is no need to increase the capacity unless you are going to increase the revenue. When we spoke about Real Madrid most recently, we spoke about their match day revenue since they've got the new stadium, which has cost about 1.7 billion a year. And that's what we need to be careful at, that Liverpool are not going to be going and spending 1.7 billion when you've already got 2 stands already built. And culturally, Liverpool fans do not want to leave Anfield. They do not want to change the aspect of Anfield. They're very proud of what our stadium is and what it represents and who we are as football fans. So first of all, Liverpool fans just wouldn't allow it. But the owners or this new consortium are not interested in building a brand new stadium. But interestingly, Real Madrid's matchday revenue has doubled. Absolutely doubled. Now we know the demographics are different. We know the financial pull and the commercial markets of Real Madrid are different. But like I've outlined, that Liverpool have already increased hospitality in the main stand and the Anfield Road end. Can you imagine being a foreign Liverpool supporter and having the idea of being some type of hospitality in a big, massive Kop and a big, massive Sir Kenny Dalglish Stand? It is certainly plausible, and that's exactly why this new consortium might be interested in expanding Anfield. Now, the problem is with all these AI-generated nonsense, which I coined it before, is that when you look at these images, there's something always missing from them, and what's missing is Walton Breck Road. You know, it's just a big major road, and they say, you know, that's not there, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, because under the section 247 of the Town and Country Planning Act of 1990, That means that you cannot permanently shut down a road. Although there is a little bit of nuance to that, because there is the opposite on Skerries Road. There is a road behind the Anfield road, and that is road end, should I say, has been closed now for some time, and Liverpool Football Club have submitted a plan to permanently close that, but it is about working with the community. Now, if you know your history about Anfield and Liverpool buying houses and trying to then have those houses to be demolished to expand the stadium over the past 30, 40 years, this isn't simple. Scousers in general, I mean, these are people's homes, the human beings first and foremost. They live there, it's their community, so Liverpool would have to work with the community. But can Liverpool close that road permanently? It's very, very unlikely that they can do that. Real Madrid, I'm going to go back to them again, what they've done is they've redeveloped the whole area, so they are in a very much urban district right in the heart of the city, just like Anfield is. So it is possible, but that, I'll go back to it, I think it cost £1.76 billion. That's not going to happen. Liverpool could work with redeveloping the area, but it's very unlikely that those situations are going to happen. But do we need to move a road? There's engineers that can do absolutely amazing engineering stuff, and that's quite simple. It is 2026. In 1969, I always use this analogy that they put man on the moon. If they can put man on the moon, I'm pretty sure that they can extend Anfield. And there is evidence to this, because in the Neyland Stadium in Tennessee in 1921, they built a stadium that was only 3,200. By the time it was the 1950s, they were up to 50,000 seater stadium. In the 60s, it went up another about 10,000, and by 1976 it was about 60,000, and in 1996 it is now a 102,000 seater stadium. Now, that wasn't a stadium, a brand new stadium that they designed and went, you know, we are going to build a 102,000 seater stadium. It was an afterthought. It was like, we've got a stadium and we are going to keep extending it and building it, and how we're going to get there. And eventually they've got there. So can Liverpool actually, with the COP, like they did with the main stands, think about structurally how they are going to build it and vertically go up? That would be fantastic. In the Kenny Dalglish Stand, I don't know why I just forgot that then. In the Kenny Dalglish Stand, they can certainly do that as well, but there is structural elements to it. So if you look at Tottenham Hotspur, for example, that is a perfect stadium for Liverpool to compare with, and the reason why is they've got a massive COP themselves now, and it holds around about 17,500 fans. Vertically, it's 35 degrees. It is pretty steep. Now, the reason why I note that is because in British law, the highest vertical steep is 35 degrees. So it doesn't matter what it says around the world, you'd have to work with the UK government regulations. Can the COP do that? Absolutely, it can. The problem is, and this is where the caveat is, and this is why I'm saying things are possible and things are also impossible. Now, again, they bang heads with each other. And the problem is at Anfield is the rail network, or any travelling inside and outside the ground. Because Liverpool can physically get their stadium to be 70,000 seater stadium, an 80,000 seater stadium, or even 100,000 seater stadium, it is possible. It is physically possible that engineers could do that. The problem is, how can you exit the stadium? That is the biggest thing. So, for example, if you made a 20,000 mega-seater COP grandstand, which it should be, and we all know it should be, because right now the main stand is dwarfing it, and we don't want that to happen to the most famous stand in the world. If you can only get 18,000 people to exit that safely at one time, that's then the capacity is reduced to 18,000. So you can have 20,000 there. It has to be people need to vacate it. Now, there is some evidence of what's happening at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Now, we all know how they've designed that structurally, or, you know, for that exit plan wasn't great, and they've had their own problems, but they still have shown that they've got that certain capacity that they can exit the stadium. Now, Liverpool fans normally arrive by train, car, or bus. So there is a problem exiting the streets, and it's the whole Anfield redevelopment that you would need to see, because an exit strategy is the key part here. And if there was ever an Anfield redevelopment, and what Jeff Bezos, Amir Batier or Edwin Saverin or whoever else is part of this consortium, it doesn't matter how rich they are, they can't just be the stadium structurally going up. It has to be an exit plan and an exit strategy and a big redevelopment of Anfield overall for that to happen. I've already mentioned some of the issues working with the community as well, and that happened in 1992, prior to 1992, when the centenary at the time the Kenny Road was redeveloped into the Centenary Stand, now later known as the Sir Kenny Dalglish Stand. That took years going on because there was two sisters that refused to leave their home. And, you know, who can blame them? It's their home, that's what I pointed out before. But it is in just as simple as, you know, you throw money at it. People love the homes, they love the community, and it's not as simple as that. Not only that, if anyone's ever been inside the Sir Kenny Dalglish Stand, it's quite narrow. When you're in there, it's quite, I wouldn't say it's lower league, because when you're in the new parts of the ground and then you go back to that side of the stadium, you go, wow, this is quite old. And it's mad thinking it's quite old because it's 1992. It was supposed to be the new stand at the time, but it is narrow. How much can Liverpool actually, you know, go further back? It is problematic, but like I said before, structurally and engineering sense, Liverpool can do it, engineers can do it. It is possible. Tottenham have built their new stadium on their site. It is possible. So we all want to know what is actually realistic, because when we talk about 70,000 seater stadiums, 80,000, 90,000, 100,000, listen, I'm still like a child. I want it to be a 100,000 seater stadium. I want Liverpool to blow everyone out of the water in the UK, but globally as well, and certainly those divvies down the East Lancs, right? But we have to look at what is realistic, what is plausible. Now, I've spoke about all the problems about exiting the stadium, and that exiting the stadium part is a massive problem. Also, what is the point for these owners to say, well, we're gonna increase the capacity, even if it was possible, and spend a hell of a lot of money when it's not needed. Now, if we look at the Sir Kenny Dalglish Stand, it holds around about 12,000, and if you think about the main stand, the opposite, if they done a mirror image of that and built it up, you're looking at about an extra 8,000 seats there. In the Kop, we all want it to be 20,000, we're just making it to be 20,000. So therefore, you're looking at around about an extra 7,000 seats. So overall, an extra 15,000 seats on what our capacity is now. Then you're looking at 76,000. I think realistically what Liverpool could do if they were really going to do this, you're looking at most realistic would be around about 80,000 seater. Now, why 80,000 and not 100,000? Why wouldn't they do that? So I spoke before about Real Madrid. Real Madrid spent 1.76 billion on that stadium. Now, Liverpool are not going to do that, but remember what their capacity is. It's only around about 81, 82,000. They are essentially the biggest club in the world. Now, if the biggest club in the world have only got a capacity of 81, 82,000, it doesn't really matter about a 100,000 seater stadium. So when Sir Jim Radcliffe or, you know, any other idiot down the road is talking about sheer numbers, the numbers inside the stadium are less important than the numbers of the revenue that it's generating. So Liverpool Liverpool fans would all like to see more supporters in the ground, especially season ticket waiting list, members who can't get a ticket, members who are entering every season, paying the £30 to access, to be able to be eligible to buy a ticket, but not really getting a ticket. We know all that happens. It's happened to me in previous years for my children and so on. That's where we would love extra seats in the ground, but those extra seats, a lot of them have to be hospitality. So if we get it up to 80,000, yes, that's plausible. It is possible. All the other reasons that I've outlined make it very difficult for Liverpool to expand in its current area. However, this is where local journalists and, you know, people on Sky Sports News or whoever, and they're saying it's not happening, it's impossible. Listen, that is simply not true. They can do it, and they just might do it because it's all about revenue. So forget about all of that Twitter AI generated nonsense, but do not throw the concept that Liverpool can increase its capacity at Anfield and redevelop Anfield, because these guys coming in know what they're doing. They've probably looked into the plans already and what Liverpool can actually do, because that makes sense, doesn't it? But it also makes sense when it comes to the numbers, and it's not just about capacity as I've outlined all the way through this video. It is about the real numbers, and the real numbers are the revenue. For us Liverpool fans, if we can get extra bums in the seats, that would be fantastic. But let's be honest, we want a mega sized Kop, one that is bigger than any stadium in the land. That's what it all boils down to for us, isn't it? We can't have the main stand dwarf and the Kop. And when you look at it, just logically, you just think about it, you can't build a main stand and then redevelop the Anfield Road end. The stadium's unfinished, no matter what journalist puts a spin on it or what FSG say or whatever, really. It is, no doubt about it, it's an unfinished stadium, and Liverpool will eventually, whether it's in 2 years or whether it's in 5 years, will redevelop the other two stands, and I can't wait for it.